if you had to describe a random person, what characteristic would you have the most trouble describing? Like someone's age, their weight, their height, what they look like?
Probably their weight, I would think, because I think there's a lot of people would fall into the average category, but I don't really even know what average is anymore.
For me, it's people's ages. I'm terrible at telling how old somebody is. The reason that I thought this up is because I had to call the cops on somebody, and the dispatcher was like, "What do they look like?" And I couldn't describe, like, I don't know, a person.
I mean, are you going to tell the story? Can you tell us what prompted it?
It's not really very interesting. Basically, there was somebody that I don't think had some place to live and was probably on a lot of drugs or had something else going on, and they were kind of having, like, it was pretty bad. Like, oh, wow, you got to call the cops for that one. But they asked me to describe it, and I couldn't describe them in any way that was any way helpful.
That's interesting. I also had a run-in with the law, but mine was
Oh, what did you do? What? Is this turning into the running break?
No, it wasn't.
Running into the law podcast?
Wasn't anything serious. I got sideswiped driving, and the person who hit me, I was fine. Here's how much damage I had on my car. I was willing to just exchange information and keep moving. And this person was very upset and was just very upset with me and wanted to wait for police.
Oh, so they thought it was your fault.
It clearly wasn't, though. Like, not even close to being my fault. But this person was under.
I think that we need to be the judge of whose fault it really is, because, quite frankly, John, you have a tendency of not really taking blame for things that actually are your fault. Like, oh no, it's not really my. Yeah, it kind of comes out like, oh yeah, it's kind of your fault. So I will decide. I will be the judge.
Okay.
Make your case.
Sure. I'm going to make this very simple, very fast, so I don't bore anybody. It was 2 lanes in each direction.
Okay.
And I was slowing up. I was the third car from a red light. I was approaching a red light.
Okay.
And I went past this person who was trying to make a left-hand turn into my direction of traffic. I was heading west. I saw them kind of creep out. And I said, oh, that's kind of funny. Like, there's nowhere to go. We're in bumper-to-bumper traffic. And next thing I know, the person's up next to me. And I, when you've been hit, and I'm like, whoa, they just hit me. So now I'm just like, what the F? So anyway, so I let them in, even though like they were never next to me. That's the thing. She was never next to my car. I was never going to let her in. She like maybe didn't get let in behind me and then tried forcing her way.
Oh, I always wonder how far somebody's willing to go with that. So wait, you guys were going the same direction? She was trying to go the same direction?
She was.
Or she was
yes.
turning in front of you?
No, she was turning to go the same direction as I was, but there was no, it's a half construction zone, half, regular lane. So like it was bumper to bumper. It was 8:30 in the morning. There was nowhere to go.
Why didn't you just let her in? Why didn't you be a good citizen and let somebody in?
Because she was never next to me. She was never in front of me. I think the car behind me wouldn't let her in. So she just darted for it and started hitting the back end of my car and then just kept moving forward.
Oh, yeah, that's 100% her fault. Okay.
Anyways, the most disheartening part, and I'm not taking anything away from law enforcement, but the cop who got there wanted nothing to do with anything. He didn't want to be there. And he comes up to me after talking to her and goes, yeah, I'm not going to give either of you a ticket. And I'm like, either of us? And I literally, I point to the damage on my car and I'm like, look at, like, how did I do? Anyways.
I feel like the fact that the police officer said he wasn't going to write either of you a ticket kind of makes it seem like there was a little more to the story that you're not telling us and that you may be somewhat at fault, but he just didn't want to deal with it. So in conclusion, I'm going to have to say it's probably 50% your fault.
It's not even close to, not at all. I'm not even going to fight for it. That's how, not even worth it to fight for it. I'll put it that way.
Now that's basically admitting that you're wrong.
Okay.
You're not, because you don't have a case. Like, I'm not going to make a case because you don't have a case. I'm trying to get you as riled up about this as possible.
I'm not. I can't be. It was just so stupid.
Okay. All right. Well, glad you're okay. How's your back?
My back was fine until I started doing stuff for my wife on
You
Mother's
could
Day.
claim all kinds of stuff, man.
You know what? I could have, but I'm not. I'm not. First off, I'm not that kind of person, and I really just, as sad as this sounds, I really just wanted to get to work. I didn't want to,
Okay, but if it wasn't a person and it was like a company, would you sue the company?
No, I'm not.
Imagine
no.
it's FedEx. Like FedEx just ran into your car. Are you suing FedEx?
I mean, it would have to depend. I mean, if there was, I mean, if I was seriously injured, or if there was like if my car
Same
was
exact
totaled,
thing. Same exact thing. If it's a big company, are you like John's about to get paid?
Donald Trump could run into me doing that, and I wouldn't want to sue him. Like, it was really not that big of a deal to me at all.
Yeah, I've kind of
Like,
entered that phase of life too, where like the hassle isn't worth the money. I did poll the audience. 52% of people said they would struggle the most with facial features. 27% said age. 6% said height. 15% said weight.
See, I feel like facial expressions or features are kind of easy because usually somebody has something distinctive. Like for you, I would say little eyebrows and bright blue eyes.
Oh, I don't know if little eyebrows a compliment or an insult. Are you jealous of my eyebrows? Or are you like, oh, I wish I had that guy's eyebrows?
No, dude, I could make a blanket out of my fucking eyebrows. Look at those things.
Oh, I never really think about my eyebrows. That's a part of my face that I don't think about whatsoever.
I would be able to I don't know, describe you pretty well, I think.
Oh, I couldn't describe anybody.
Oh,
I couldn't.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm gonna close my eyes and try to describe you.
you just looked at me.
I know. This is how bad I am. I don't know if I can still do it. Okay. So pretend you're a police officer and you're asking me what the criminal who caused an accident looked like.
Sir, do you remember the color of his eyes?
They were brown eyes. That's the only facial feature of yours that I can describe. I couldn't describe your face in any way. Like he had a nose, he had a chin.
I have big ears,
lips. None of that even registers in my brain. Whether like when it comes to facial features of people, if they're big or they're small, none of those things even register in my brain. Like I can tell if someone's like, oh, they're a good looking person and not a good looking person, average looking person, but none of the characteristics of someone's face register in my brain. You do have a flavor saver right now, which is ridiculous, and a little mustache like you just turned 15. You're like, Dad, I've got facial hair. But
do you know I once dated a girl who said that I should keep the flavor saver. She was a fan of it. So, booyah.
How many women have you dated that were not? Just because you get one compliment, just because one person says something, if you're going to take it as one person said something so that means something, then you also have to take it that everybody who didn't say something was against it.
I mean, probably every other. I mean, it does look terrible, and it will be shaved off today. But, I mean, to be honest with you, not that anybody cares, but my mustache and my flavor saver are literally the only thing that grows fastly on my face.
I can only grow neck stuff.
All right. Let's start with Sene Rolands, Andre De Jesus, Dylan Ray, Miha Godish. I may have just made up that last name. I'm probably not correct in how you say that. Nate Joseph, Huey Lewis, and the news.
Does he have the news in there?
No, I added that last part.
Okay. There's no way his name is really Huey. There has to be some Huey Lewis. God, I bet they hate it.
Oh, yeah.
I would hate to be named after a famous thing. Actually, I was named after Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon was a big deal when I was growing up, and people were constantly like, "Hey, Nickelodeon!"
No, you
that
weren't.
Before.
You were not named after Nickelodeon.
No, I wasn't. But Nickelodeon was a big deal when I was in school, and so then everybody would constantly be like, "Nickelodeon!" Like, good one.
This one's for kids. Anyway, Shane Michael, Elisa Cossetti, Quentin McBride, and Chris Bergen. All real names, I swear.
Okay.
So we're gonna just do something a little different again. I figured, why not? Might as well just keep switching it up here. So this kind of goes along with what we had last week. I figured I'd expand just a tiny bit on it. So I picked out 6 words that either I made up or they're actual words. And I just want you to tell me if they're real words or if I made them up or not. So we're going to start here with this one. Cattywampus.
Yeah, that's a real word. I've heard of that before. I don't know what it is, but it's a real thing.
Jesus Christ. I mean, I'd never heard of it before.
What is it?
Apparently it means disarray or disorder.
Oh, like a kerfluffle.
Yes. If you want me to use it in a sentence. Tyler slept with wet hair and woke up with her bangs all in cattywampus.
I could bring that back. I will give you whether or not this word should be used more or not used at all. I said cattywampus is okay, but nobody would think it's like nobody would think it's like an actual defined event.
I mean, it still doesn't sound right. I don't know how that's actually like a real word.
I mean, any word's a word if you think about it, right? Like, who's policing all of this? Who gets to decide if something's a word or not? Anything can be a word. Riz is a word. We just made that up. We've just made all the words up.
All right, well,
we
let's
just have to get
this
enough
one.
people saying it, and it's a word.
Stupider.
Oh, I don't think that's a word.
That is not a word.
More stupid. It's like funner. It's not a word. But if we had a linguist on this show a long time ago, no, maybe like a year ago, and one of his biggest things was like, look, it really doesn't matter if it's grammatically correct or language correct or not. If somebody understands what you mean, you have communicated effectively.
Spaghettification.
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, that's a word.
It is a word. Spaghettification, the process by which objects are compressed horizontally into log-thin shapes. Or you could just say we're making spaghetti.
But then is there other kinds? Is there like pastification? Linguinification? What if it's like the bow tie pasta? Is that spaghettification if you make it like that, or is that just making pasta? Or is it bow tie-ification?
I mean,
why spaghetti gets singled out?
I understand what you're saying by saying bow tie-ification. All right, here's one that got me laughing. Snollygoster.
Well, yeah. I'm going to say that that's a word.
It is not a word.
It's not a word. Then how did it get you laughing? That's the reason that I went with it a word, is because you obviously have heard it somewhere.
No, I just read it, and snollygoster. I mean,
well, if it's written, how is it not a word? If it's written down somewhere.
It's not a word according to Merriam-Webster.
Then why is it written down?
Don't ask questions. I don't know.
I just want to know, where did you read it at? I want details on what is happening.
This was from a list. Hold on, I cite these things. Writingcooperative.com, if you want to know.
Oh. Well, what was the use of the word snollygoster? What is it?
It's just not a word, snollygoster.
But then why does it exist? If it's not a word, why did somebody write it down?
I don't know. I don't have that answer.
What's the word? I'm going to look it up.
This is SNOLLY.
SNOLLY.
GOSTER.
GOSTER. Snollygoster? A shrewd, unprincipled person, especially a politician. It's a word. It is a word.
Not according to this list.
It's a word. It's on dictionary.com. It has a definition. It's a word. This is what I was getting at. Is like, if it's not a word, why would it be down?
It's not.
Did you read this list correctly?
It's not a word.
It is a word. Look it up.
I might have been a little inebriated, but it's fine.
It's a word.
Sure, I got it right.
It's in Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Snollygoster, definition and meaning. Dictionary.com, definition and meaning. A clever, unscrupulous person, usually applied to politicians. It's in Wikipedia.
Let's see here. Hold on. This says, Merriam-Webster, snollygoster, a word which means a shrewd and unprincipled person, was removed from our dictionary.
But it's still a word. It was a word. You can't unmake a word.
Oh my God. But it's not a real word anymore.
but it was.
Let's just move on. No one wants.
I'm on dictionary.com. Let's see what dictionary.com has to say. It's a German of German origin, a mid-19th century word. Apparently, it's been used much more. I'm looking at the use over time of snollygoster, which skyrocketed in the early 1900s, 1950, and then again in 2020. So it's making a pretty big comeback.
Well, it's not a word, so.
It is a word.
No, it's not a word.
Right. If the dictionary says it's a word, you're right. You're right. Why would the dictionary be right?
I just read you from a post from Merriam-Webster that it was removed. So
just removed from the dictionary, but not removed from being a word. It's different. It's dumb. Still a word.
Go fuck yourself. How about that?
That's a sentence.
Is it words or no?
Well, it's a sentence.
I'm done. Let's move on to the top 5. I'm over it. I'll come up with something better next time.
How many more do you have? How many more do you have?
Doesn't matter. Let's move on to the top 5.
Are you going to take your ball and go home?
I already have, but I'm back. But I threw that ball away.
Well, what are the other words? Now I'm interested. You had 6 words. How many did we get through?
4. But you took up time with.
Just give me the last 2. What are the last 2 words?
Go and fuck yourself.
That's 3 words.
I can't wait for that transcription to come out. That should be fun to read.
Why can't you just tell me what the other 2 words were? I'm sorry I ruined your game.
Let's just keep moving on.
Okay, it's all right.
Make sure you add in the round.
What is our top 5 now? Oh, top 5 things we don't like to hear people talk about. Not things that we don't like to talk about, but things we don't like to hear other people talk about. What's your number 5?
Money.
Oh, yeah.
Finances.
Money.
I don't care. You know, I just don't care. I don't really want to talk to you about my money. I don't want to hear you talk about your money. I don't want to hear you give me advice about money. Like I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Money is different. Like I don't really want to hear people talk about money. Because it's just always an awkward conversation because it's either about how somebody has so much and they want to tell you about it, or they're trying to get you to buy something.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
Do you feel like you've ever gotten good financial advice from anyone?
No, actually. Never. I mean, no. Because it's either the left or the right. It's either save or just spend it. I've never gotten anybody that's been like, hey, let's do this, and this with it, because in 5 years, that's going to be worth that. No, so.
Money might be one of the most ubiquitous things in society that none of us know anything about. Like, it runs all of society, and really nobody knows anything about how it's going to work. Even, like, the people who are supposed, like the Fed or whatever, like the finance wizards, like, they can't predict the stock market either.
They may be wrong or right. I feel like that is pure luck in the money game when it comes to that kind of stuff.
My number 5 is food. I don't like to hear people talk about food because then it just makes me hungry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. That's actually probably one of the things that I like conversing with people about is food. I like to get ideas. I like to hear people talk about what they like. I'm all right with that.
Oh, I just like, if I hear people talk about food, it's like, well, I just want the food. I don't want to hear you talk about it.
It's fair.
What's number 4?
I don't really have any interest in hearing people tell me about how great their family is.
Oh, I like hearing about people's. I like listening to people talk about their families.
I don't.
That's like juice. That's like gossip because they're gonna let something slip that tells the real story.
Like, I'm fine if I ask, right? But I just don't want you to just start going off about, you know, my Aunt Carla and my Uncle Jim and my dad and my brother. Like, I didn't ask for that. Like, I don't want to hear about them.
I have both an Aunt Carla and an Uncle Jim, by the way.
I know. I hung out with him last weekend.
I have actually an Uncle Jim. I don't have an Aunt Carla. No, Aunt Carla. Uncle Jim. Shout out to Uncle Jim.
I have an Uncle Jim as well.
Telling me about natural golf all the time.
Oh boy.
Everybody's got something that they always want to tell you about. And I generally just have no interest in whatever that one thing is that somebody wants to tell me about.
Formula One, the Detroit Tigers, wrestling.
Can you just admit that Formula One is the latest iteration of soccer? Another sport from overseas that everybody's like, it's the next big. It's not. It's not.
Okay.
America decided about what our sports are that we care about a long time ago, and we're not changing that. The only change is potentially pickleball. That's the only possible change that we will add to our sports lexicon. We don't care about soccer. We don't care about Formula One. We don't.
I can tell you that in less than 2 years, you will see a country become soccer crazy, and you will see nothing that you've ever seen before when this entire country goes into the World Cup.
Yeah, but is the United States even going to make it into the World Cup?
They better.
We're not really. We're going to care about all the money that's coming in from the World Cup, and we're going to do about it because, like, that's what we do. We obsess over whatever is going on in the moment, like we just did with the solar storm. But we're going to go right back to not caring afterwards.
That was the most uninspiring thing I think I've seen since the last lunar bullshit that happened with the eclipse.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
I guess you don't. You're not. I guess you're just not impressed by the fundamental aspects of our universe.
No, because for one, I couldn't see it, and then even when I took a picture of the sky, I could barely see it. You know what? I'm going to blame Detroit for that. It's Detroit's fault.
It is Detroit's fault. We agree on that. It is Detroit's fault. My number 4 is any large group conversation. If there's more than 5 people talking about something, I don't want to hear. I can't stand listening to big group conversations. They're awful.
Would you say in a conversation, are you like, say it's a group conversation, are you the center of attention? Are you the guy that doesn't really get involved? Are you the speak one sentence and not talk for another 10 minutes person?
I can go any way. I wouldn't say that I generally have like an established position in a conversation. I can be any of those. I can be kind of left out of the conversation. I can be the center of attention. I can have something to say, or I can not talk at all. I generally will not talk at all. I would say I'm probably like, if there's 5 people, I'm usually going to be the third most talkative person.
Okay, that's fair.
How about yourself?
I mean, I'll be honest. I'm like out of 5, I'm probably like number 4 or 5. I don't really like to jump in and give my opinions on things. I kind of just sit there and listen, because I feel like if I do jump in, you'll just get attacked. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's how it goes. I would put you as number 1 or number 2 and the most talkative, though. You're usually involved in a conversation, more involved than I would be. I feel like
my number 3. I don't like to hear people talk about them being narcissistic. I don't like to hear people talk about themselves.
Oh, that's higher on my list.
Okay, I mean, one of the. I mean, the biggest thing to me is, I don't want to hear that you're 21 years old and you don't have a family and you spend 8 hours at the gym before you come into work and you're having a protein shake while I'm sitting there with my cup of coffee having a breakfast sandwich.
I'm going to give. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, go ahead.
Down. No, I was writing something down. I wasn't listening to the end of your sentence. I was trying to write something down before I finished the thought, but you finished too quickly. That's the second time in a row that you've like finished saying something or I've been doing something else and I haven't been able to snap back to attention in time to meet what you were doing.
You better snap back to attention because things go pretty quick around here.
You're moving, huh? My number 3 and number 2 are 2 things that we've talked about already. So my number 3 is money. My number 2 is people talking about themselves.
Were you going to say that you think our number 1s are the same?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so at all. I'll give you $5 if yours is even in the same ballpark as mine.
Okay, what's your number 1?
Well, my number 2 is tough to get to. Even though my number 1 is really, I mean, my number 2 isn't all that great, but it's just people who talk about their homes and, how great their homes are and blah, blah, blah. I just don't care. Like, great. Like, my wife will spend hours on Zillow. Hours. And I'm like, that's great. Like, we're not going to do that, but that's great.
I sense a little bit of jealousy.
By the way, have we talked about my basement yet?
That's what I was going to say. The reason you don't want to hear this is because you put all this time and effort into your basement and nobody wants to talk about your basement. This is jealousy. This is you projecting.
No, it's not.
Nobody wants to talk about my basement.
It's not.
Is your basement finished?
Yes.
Good. Good. All right, what's your number one?
My number one is people who talk about their former sports careers.
Oh, yeah. Glory days conversations are the worst.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And then I love the people who are older who act like they know everything, who didn't play past T-ball or midgets, or something like that.
That would be what I would say is probably my real number one, is any kind of fake expertise conversation in which somebody who is not actually an expert in something is talking about how much they know about something. I can't stand listening to people talk about sports. If you were that good, you'd be coaching or playing. Like, oh, the coach should have done this. Yeah, because you know more than the guy who does this professionally because you sat the bench in high school. So you're suddenly an expert on the jet sweep. It's like, you should have ran the jet sweep. You got cut freshman year. Like,
yeah, no, I mean, there's so many, the odds-on favorite to me is the guy who's like, yeah, I scored a touchdown in high school. Just one, though. And it was by luck. God. We were playing the blind team. They couldn't even see me.
They probably hear him talking about it all these years later. My number one is dogs and children. I like my dogs and I love my children, but I don't care about your dog or your children. I don't want to talk to you about your dog or your children. Nobody should be talking about their dog or children unless it's a conversation about like, oh, what should I do in this situation? No one cares about your dog or your kids' accomplishments.
Yeah, I mean, animals are kind of like the house thing to me. Like, I don't care, to be honest. Children, I'm okay with. You kind of get to see different sides of people when they talk about their children. A lot of people seem to light up. So I'm okay with children.
Okay, you're a little bit softer than I am. What's in your honorable mention?
I don't really have much. The only thing I had was really just people, like you said. I didn't write it down as eloquently as that, but fake expertise. And just especially about jobs, like about maybe something that like I do professionally, where someone that has no idea will say, well, I saw it in ABC News, and this is that and that, and I'm like, dude, like I work in the news industry, like I could probably tell you what happened.
I have the weather. I don't like to listen to people talk about weather because to me that means that the conversation is basically at an end, and now is the awkward part about like, well, what do we do next? How do we end this conversation once we switch into the weather conversation? Reality TV. I don't like to hear people talk about reality TV. I don't care at all about reality TV.
That's fair. That's a good one.
I don't mind actually listening to conversations about politics or religion because I find that that's a really great way to kind of find out if somebody's an idiot. We've kind of shifted into the realm of whatever somebody's beliefs are. If they're pretty extreme, they're much more comfortable giving those out, and you can find out pretty quickly, like, oh, you're an idiot.
I mean, I'm okay. I'm not one for not listening, but it's not something that I'm gonna raise my hand to listen to someone talk about. That's for sure.
No, I agree with that. You got anything? Oh, celebrities. I don't generally like to listen to celebrity talk. Just talking about celebrities. I don't mind talking about the things that they do in terms of the art that they create, but I don't like to hear about like them.
I guess I'll take back that Swiftie badge I got you then.
Aw, how much did you pay for it? Did you get the New Eras one or did you get the other one?
Thought you don't want to talk about it.
What I do want to talk about is the two other words that you won't tell me. What were they?
Goodbye, Nick.